Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Alright Talk Show. This week, I have a guest who essentially teaches people how money works in an easier way we can all understand. He's been featured on the likes of Sky News, BBC News, and Lad Bible. I'd like to welcome Timi, A.K.A. Mr. Money Jar. Timi, thanks for coming on the show. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me, Shane.
Excellent. So, I just want to know who you are and what exactly you do, and why you started the Instagram.
Yeah, cool. So, my name's Timi, also known as Mr. Money Jar, and I'm a financial educator. So, since 2019, I've been doing a lot around digital content, one-to-one coaching, and workshops on personal finance, investing, and property for people in the UK. And I started doing it because it's something I've always been interested in, and I just wanted to share my experiences with people. And it's picked up a lot of traction since I started, which I'm very happy about.
Yeah, awesome, and I can see like there's quite a shift that seems to be on Instagram now, that a lot of people are turning, especially this year, turning to like financial support, aren't they?
Yeah. So I think timing is a big part of it as well. Obviously, with everything that's going on with the virus, and we've just had another lockdown announced yesterday. Just financial well-being, money management, investing, all these things, I think front of mind for a lot of people. And I also think there's a realization that there are maybe things that we haven't learned at home or at school that, are kind of coming to the fore now we're adults. So there's a lot of interest in it now, definitely.
Yeah, I agree, and I think, as you said, with the virus now more than ever, even like adults, like even like my parents now are like want to learn more about investing and assets and things like that. Have you found that shift with like slightly older people, or even actually younger people? Like when I was 18, I wasn't really interested. I was interested in having money, but not how to
Yeah.
get money. So have you found there's a bit of a shift on both sides of the age spectrum?
Yeah. The thing about money is that money cuts across everything and everyone. It affects everyone's life. And so I wouldn't say that there's been an age group that
Mm.
hasn't been interested in these conversations. And I think there's something really interesting around lockdowns, whether you don't have as much money as you'd like and you're struggling to pay your rent and bills, or whether you have loads of money, but all of a sudden find that you can't spend it because you can't go on holiday or your movement's been restricted. I think people are having to think about money in a very different way now. It's a really unique set of circumstances at the moment.
It is, and it's nothing we've seen before. And I actually read an article the other day. I think it was the Daily Mail or something, and it was that the average Briton has saved something like £7,000 this year in 2020, because they haven't been able to spend it on essentially stuff they just don't need.
That's very, very interesting. I saw something similar. So my previous job last year, once the lockdown hit, there was like all this like travel money that would normally spend on travel and transport that wasn't spending anymore. So yeah, I can imagine for a lot of people, they have all this kind of spare cash kind of lying around.
Yeah, it's crazy, and and people have lost a lot of cash too, as well, haven't they? With travel, I myself have actually personally lost quite a substantial amount. We won't talk about that though.
Okay, yeah, let's not dwell.
No, but it's okay, because that is, you know what, I didn't pay for it with a credit card, and maybe if I did, it would have been protected.
Oh, right. Yeah,
So that's
yeah.
my, I've learned that, but I've kind of took that as a positive, where, well, that's a lesson learned, that is. So I had to go through that process to go, well, next time I book something big, whack it on a credit card, obviously providing I can afford to pay for it, which I know I'm very good at budgeting and paying stuff off like that.
Yeah. Anything over 100 quid, and I think the upper limit is 30 grand.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, put it on a credit card and then pay off in full.
Yeah, absolutely. So what was your actual education background? Was you always interested in finance, or was it when you reached a certain age, or?
I think I've always been interested, but no, my education had nothing to do with numbers at all. Like I did law at uni, and at A level, I did like the humanities subjects, but I've always been interested in, how to, like why some people have a lot of money and why some people don't, and I was always that friend who was trying out the latest app or the latest service, or knew how to get a deal or cash back on this and that. And so I just found a way to, like, primarily through social media, just share my knowledge and my experiences with as many people as possible, essentially.
Right. Yeah, it kind of sounds like myself, because I'm always trying to get people to try these new apps. If I know it helps me and I know it can help them, I'm like, yeah, like sign up for this. It can help you. And some people, like, they'll love it. They'll thank me, and then other people like just tell me to piss off because they're not
Yeah,
interested.
you don't want to be that guy like all the time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, I do kind of slide into conversations, but if I know if it can really benefit them, I do try and like mention it. But yeah, I don't want to like keep pounding it on them or anything like that.
Yeah, yeah. But what I'd say is, like, actually, another thing I found over the past year is that, that there's quite a lot of knowledge on the ground. I think the only difference between me and um, like a lot of my friends is that I've just decided to, like, talk about it um, kind of, publicly. But
Mm.
within my family and my friends and my social groups, there's a lot of financially savvy people um, in those groups. And some of my content comes from things that my friends tell me or
Awesome.
ask me to speak about. So yeah.
So when they do that, then do you ever find they ask you to do something that you don't know? So you go out, do the research, and then you'll post about it.
Yeah, it can be so when I post, sometimes I post about things that I just want to talk about, or that I feel that I'm almost qualified to speak on. And sometimes it'll be something that I've not heard about before. So a great example of that is my cousin was speaking to me the other day about child benefit,
Mm.
and I don't have any children. So I spent a morning reading about how the child benefit system worked and what made you eligible or not. And then I did a post on it. But that's cool, because each time I do something like that, I get an extra piece of knowledge that I can then go out and share with people.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that, and I think that's pretty much kind of what I do too. Like anytime someone says to me like, which platform's the best to use for this, so what I'll do is, okay, well, I'll do what you did. Like, I'll go and open all these apps, see which one I like, and I go,
Yeah.
well, I found this and I found that. I wouldn't recommend that, but go and try it yourself. And yeah, I kind of do like being that person that people can come to for knowledge, and
Yeah.
I like learning as well. Like, because yeah, as you said, like you know something new now, so if anybody ever asks, you've got the answer.
So what's your educational background been?
Actually, mainly in IT. I've just been in IT, and then it was only the start of last year where I've kind of, well, like I've always been quite frugal and I've been good at saving money, but I've never
Yeah.
been like knew really know how to invest my money. So last year I kind of took the stand and put my foot down to myself and went, right, well, I'm going to learn about investing. I'm going to learn about property, stocks and shares, wealth. And like I keep hearing like your money's no good sitting in the bank, but I didn't understand why. I didn't really
Yeah.
understand why
Yeah.
that a paper note can be like worthless over time. So then I started to learn about like gold and how it's a hedge against inflation and all that sort of stuff. So I've really like just sat and just spent hours and hours listening to people like yourselves, reading books, YouTube, listening to other people, networking, and yeah, just getting clued up. And it's really opened my eyes, and I feel a lot more confident now that I know kind of how money works.
That's wicked, mate. I think one of the things that's interesting is even though people may look at someone like yourself or myself as being an expert in things to do with money, like, everyone's an expert in something.
Mm.
So I think part of the value that someone like yourself provides to people is the fact that you've dedicated a lot of time to reading about money. But the people who listen to you and who follow you are off being awesome at their kind of area of expertise. So like, an example is, I have friends who are like doctors and who work in hospitals, and I then go to them to learn about like coronavirus and the vaccine and all that sort of thing. So I think it's cool. Like, we're just all helping each other out, basically.
Yeah, I love that. And yeah, so in fact, I spoke to a friend of mine actually last week. In fact, he's going to be on the show this Thursday.
All right.
Um, and he is a doctor in science, and he just opened my mind up about, because he hears all these theories about coronavirus and stuff, and he kind of set a few straight for me because he actually studies this stuff. And as you said, it's great to actually have someone in the know about this sort of stuff, so you can go to friends and not read a load of rubbish off the internet.
Hmm.
So yeah, I found that pretty cool. So what do you actually invest in? Do you individual stocks and shares? What sort of asset classes do you invest in yourself?
I previously invested in individual stocks. I don't hold any at the moment, and I invest now into index funds. And that's because I read a really great book by John Bogle, who is the creator of the index fund and the founder of Vanguard. And it's called The Little Common Sense Book of Investing. It just makes a really, really good case for how over time investing into index funds, and for anyone who's listening who doesn't know what an index fund is, it's basically a basket of stocks, and it tracks the market. So it's not managed by a fund manager or anything like that. It just tracks the market. And the thing with buying individual stocks, so like based on what I've read in this book, buying individual stocks trying to beat the market, is that you can do it over the short term. So many people who started investing last year after the coronavirus crash would have seen huge gains on their investments because the market was depressed when they started. It becomes increasingly more difficult to outperform the market over longer periods of time. So counterintuitively, if you invest in index funds, you get average performance, which compared to many other people who are kind of quite active and moving about a lot, average performance is actually good,
Mm,
which is a
yeah,
strange thing about them. So that's why I invest in index funds.
yeah, that's a great answer. And it's about, I think, index funds, especially for me. I'm all about building long-term wealth,
Mhm.
and that's what an index fund can do for you. If you're actively investing over the long term, if you a couple of £100 a month, if you can afford to do so, and then by the time you reach retirement, if you start at an early age, by the time you reach retirement, and then you all that money is being compounded, you're almost kind of guaranteed to be a millionaire. Obviously, depending on how much you invest in from the beginning, and it's consistent, and you match it with inflation and so on.
Yeah. And those two things you said there are key. Starting early as you possibly can, is key because that gives the your money, the asset, a longer time to compound. But it's also knowing what your strategy is from the very beginning as well. So when I started investing, I didn't know anything about investing, so I was trying lots of different things. But if you're just starting investing now and you are thinking of a long-term strategy, then do in investing, boring is good.
Yeah,
Like not moving about too much is actually kind of what you want to do.
yeah, unless you're like an actual expert that can like read the stock market. But you know what? Let's be honest. If someone, I read a quote once. It was like, if someone tells you they can predict the stock market, they're lying, because it's absolutely impossible. Did everyone predict the coronavirus? No, they didn't.
Yeah. No, if you meet someone who can predict the stock market, then ask them for next week's lottery numbers while they're at it as well, because
That's
they
it.
can see into the future.
Yeah, and you know what? You mentioned about what's happened this year, and how anyone that's, I know a few people that invested, early March this year, but this was before I really knew much about stocks and really went for it.
Sure.
And they've made some, as you said, they've seen some really good returns this year, but it's not a true reflection of what the stock market's actually like, is it? On a normal, well, what is a normal day? But in the course of history, it's been an absolutely insane year, 2020.
Yeah. So stock market grows on average at around about 7% a year. If you go back um, over not even just the decades, but just the centuries, because stock market's a few hundred years old. That's the average growth. Obviously, it doesn't do that percentage year on year, but on average, it does do that. So last year was not normal at all. Like you had a big kind of crash, sort of crash that you see once every 10 years, and then a partial recovery from that crash. and we again don't know what will happen this year. That's why, coming back to the point you made about investing this, regular amounts every month, that's a really good approach. I think it's a very common sense approach because it takes the emotion out of it and it allows you to focus on earning more money and increasing your investment contributions rather than trying to pick the correct stock. There's also something very interesting around the types of stocks that people want to invest in. I think the companies that are visible to us can sometimes be attractive investments because we feel like we understand the company because we engage with it as a consumer. So an example, I think in the book, The Intelligent Investor, there's a quote in there about someone saying, I buy coffee from Starbucks, so I'm going to buy Starbucks stock. Like that, it seems intuitive, but just because you use a company doesn't necessarily mean that it's profitable or it's a good investment.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, because I think like that's the way I used to think before I knew anything. But learning
And
is,
sorry to cut you.
yeah,
There's
so
nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with that. I think it's a very intuitive kind of approach, but it's just you just need to be wary.
yeah, of course, because in fact, I actually did make a mistake this year, actually, at the very
All
beginning
right.
of this year. So, yeah, I'll publicly announce my mistake, because you learn from your mistakes. So, the company called Nikola, which was the rival to Tesla, but in the trucking world, so the
Okay.
electric trucks, and I thought, well, this could be a great company because they're the rival to Tesla, but they're doing trucks instead of focusing on cars, so like big 18-wheeler sort of thing. And I invested into them, but like, yeah, they haven't done really well this year. So I like my money just like they halved 50%. I lost 50%.
Okay.
But I think because I went on, even though I didn't use them as a consumer, I didn't go in there without even looking at their financials. Now, after kind of speaking to a few individual stock investors, they tell me how they analyze a company, and then I realize, okay, well, that was my mistake. Maybe I should have looked at the financials. But I understand if you're a consumer like like something like Starbucks or McDonald's, they're quite safe stocks to invest in, aren't they? Because they've got the long term. They're probably never going to go bust because everyone's always going to use them. That sort of thing.
Well, I wouldn't say that they're safe. The companies are certainly more established, but as you see established, companies that appear established, either having huge drops in share price or going out of business completely. There's actually a really great visual infographic online of Blockbuster, and it shows from the very first Blockbuster store in the United States. It's like a map of the states, and it shows like where the first store was opened. And then as you play the infographic, it shows the rapid expansion of Blockbusters. And then it gets to about mid 2000s, and then you just begin to see them drop off the map one by one. And I think there's like one or two left. And that's obviously that was a super dominant company, but the world changed and people moved from physical media to streaming services. So we never know what will happen that will affect a company that, as established as McDonald's or as Starbucks.
You know what? That's something that I think you've just opened my eyes to. That you're right. No company is kind of safe because we are an ever-changing world. And 20 years ago, you probably would have thought blockbusters would have been here to stay, but like Netflix took over, didn't it? And now look what's happened.
Yeah, just imagine describing Netflix to someone at the height of Blockbuster's dominance. It's like, no. It's not about this like taking out videotapes thing. In the future, there's going to be a website, and like all the stuff all the stuff you see in this shop is going to be on that one website. And people aren't going to go to the cinema. The films will just get uploaded to this website, and like everyone will just watch stuff at home. Like it sounds bizarre, like when you kind of look back on it, but that's exactly what happened. So I like to kind of think about things like this. Like I look at the big tech companies and I think to myself, what would happen if we had a cybersecurity crisis or something that meant that we couldn't use the internet anymore? I went out yesterday. It's just like a side point, but I
Mm.
went out yesterday to the shops and I took just my wallet and my keys. And I realized when I got out, like, I feel so naked without my mobile phone. Like, I don't know what the time is. I don't know, like, if I might like miss a call, like I can't message anyone. We've created a world that's so dependent on technology. What would happen if we are all of a sudden not able to use it?
Yeah, yeah, that
You just
that's
never
so
know.
true. I can just feel that feeling now when I have left the house without a phone before.
Hmm.
And you are right. It's like we do feel naked. It's like we're so dependent on the mobile phone now, and is kind of going back to what you said. 20 actually, yeah, even 20 years ago. I mean, yeah, we had mobile phones, but they weren't our our everything. Like everything, people run businesses from mobile phones now. It's
Yeah,
insane,
yeah.
absolutely insane. So moving on, then, what is your long-term plans for the future? You're going to continue to work in education, or have you got some big plans ahead, or nothing you can disclose yet, or anything? Or
My long-term plans for the future are just to help as many people as I possibly can and to create content that lives separately from me and sort of outlasts me. So and I want to create content that I would want to consume myself. So I'm very specific about the types of things I post, write about, talk about, and so on, because my objective isn't actually to help people get rich,
mm,
or like in that kind of there are content creators on the internet who I'm sure you've seen where like they're really trying to sell you like a dream of making loads of money. I'm really interested in people's happiness. I think if last year showed me anything, is that people's health and happiness is the most important thing, and the relationships that they have with the people in their life. And money is a tool that's supposed to help you get what you actually want. It's not something, in my view, that you're supposed to just like stack up over the
yeah,
course of your whole life without really knowing why or for no reason. So I'm actually all about happiness, and I want to help people like be happy with the things that they have and to be able to make a plan to get to the things that they want as well, and how money fits into that.
yeah, because that you've hit the nail on the head there. Like things, all these materialistic things and things that make us happy, even if it is just for a shorter term of time, or if if being wealthy does make you happy, things like that. It's like it's a byproduct, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. Like
Mm,
money is a tool, not the goal. And that's
yeah,
how I try and approach it every time. And you need to check yourself, like the um the urge to get rich quick or to become a multi-millionaire is really strong.
mm,
But that's just like one aspect of life. There's lots of other things. You could be super rich, but you could be in poor health, or you could have loads of money, but have no one in your life that you could say loves you, like genuinely loves you. Warren Buffett talks about this actually when he talks about his definition of success.
yeah.
So you need to make sure that you solve for money, definitely, but don't forget about the other important things in your life as well.
You're right, and there is many people out there that have money and are wealthy that aren't necessarily happy because it is true. Like money, obviously, as we said, like it can make you happy, but it doesn't ultimately make you happy,
It's
does
not
it?
the only. It's not the only thing. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I love that. So, are you trying to? Do you feel like would you in the future maybe try and get more proper financial education in schools? Have you worked in schools? Have you done any talks in schools in the past?
That's a great question. I haven't done any talks in schools, but I have done talks to children of school age.
Hmm.
And that informs the way I was speaking to a friend of mine the other day, David Fisayo, who is actually just launching um, an investment platform. And I'll say to you what I said to him, which is I think that school there's two ways that you can think about school. You can think about school as a building where you go to every day to learn, or you can think of school as what it does, which is it's a medium through which you learn about stuff.
Yeah.
And with the power of technology, school can be anywhere at any time. So my objective is not to speak at schools per se. It's actually, how do I reach young people?
Yes.
And that could be on their phones, that could be through books, but it could also be through video games. You know, like, I think the key to reaching young people is meeting them where they are and where they hang out.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And as you said, yeah, there is probably like many ways. I think that will probably come out in the future as well, where it's just getting that knowledge to them, isn't it, about finance, but in different ways, like as you said,
Mm-hmm.
like video game. Because I think some of the stuff that I talk about personally, it bores my partner, but I'm sure that would bore kids as well. So as you said, there probably will be ways in the future that hopefully will entertain kids.
I just remember being younger, and like, I was a huge Pokemon fan when I was at primary school, had the cards, the games, everything. And I remember being like, isn't it strange that, and like everyone was into Pokemon at my school as well. I remember being like, isn't it strange that we all know like the Pokemon in order, but like we don't know our times tables or like the periodic table or whatever it is. Like, I feel like video games as a medium are massively undervalued and are extremely powerful at conveying information because you spend so much time with them. And yeah, I think I hope to see in our lifetimes some really interesting stuff done with them when it comes to educating people.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sure there will be, or if not, a few years time, I might sort it out. Be a collab coming, maybe. Cool. So, just reached the part of the show now. We've come to the end. Well, I'd like to ask you three random questions, just off topic, just a bit of fun.
All right.
And so the first one is, what is your favorite movie?
I'm going to say the first movie that came to my head, Marvel's Avengers Infinity War.
Awesome movie. That's the one before Endgame, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I really like Thanos in that, actually.
Yeah. He's a cool
It's like
character,
a
isn't he?
really great villain.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, awesome villain, actually. Yeah, great movie. Good choice. Next question, favorite destination?
My house.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just very happy here. Like, it has everything I need. And yeah, like, I'm just very happy at home.
Oh, well, that's a great answer, and I love to hear that you're happy in your house. That's all I want. That's isn't that's awesome. Love it. Cool. And third and final question: name something that gets on your nerves. Which, by the sounds of it, you're very happy. So I'm surprised to hear something.
Someone that gets on my nerves.
Yeah.
I get on my nerves. I get on my nerves all the time. Yeah. Um, I So it's like start of 2021, and I've had conversations with people about New Year's resolutions. And in 2020, I made all these goals for myself. I was like, oh, I want to be able to run a 5K this quickly. I want to be able to deadlift this much. I want to, get to this many followers on Insta. And I didn't meet any of my goals last year. I did make progress on them, but I didn't meet any of them. And I've been reading about goal setting quite a bit. And it says that the things I've read say that if you set like a definite goal and you put it way out in the future, you essentially put yourself into a failure state where you're a failure until you've gotten up until that point. And that takes a psychological toll on you. So this year, rather than like getting annoyed at myself because I haven't hit these arbitrary goals I've set myself, I've actually set themes. And it's just general areas of my life that I want to move gently in the direction of. I've said to myself, I want to have more fun this year. I want to stop taking stuff so seriously because actually, there's a pandemic on, and, enjoyment, having fun, being happy are important. I've also said I want to get better at things, things that interest me. So I'm learning how to play chess at the moment, really getting into that. And I'm telling you, like, it's only been a few days, but it's a way more sustainable way to live your life, and a way less annoying way to live your life as well. So that's my long-winded answer to that.
No, I love that, and that's such a different approach. I've never heard that before, but I overwhelm myself with goals as well, and I think, yeah, you are a failure up to that point, are you? Well, that's how I feel sometimes, and it's like, yeah, it's that horrible thought, like you haven't achieved them, and then you don't. The whole point of having a goal, right? You have the goal, but it's about enjoying the process, isn't it? But
That's
it's
it.
hard. It's hard to enjoy the process sometimes.
That's it. Because human nature basically dictates that once you achieve that goal, you'll have a temporary high, and then you'll just adjust, and then you'll move on to the next thing. Jeff Bezos, the richest known person in the world, gets up every morning with the objective of making more money. That should be a lesson to you.
Mm.
Like, nothing will ever be enough. So just be present and enjoy what you're doing today.
Awesome, and what a great way to finish the show. Really appreciate that great answer. So, just to finish up, then, how can people get in touch with you, Timmy?
Yeah, well, thank you so much, Shane, for having me on your show. I am at Mr. Money Jar on most social platforms, but mainly on Instagram. So yeah, come pay a visit, and yeah, I look forward to future conversations with you guys.
Excellent. Yeah, he's got some awesome content, so go and check it out. Cool. So, thanks for joining me. It's been an awesome guest, and I'm sure everyone that's listening, will agree. So, this has been the All Right Talk Show. We're back next week. Ciao for now.